tutor at Sky Academy, and we're in the topic of statistical analysis in the Year 11 standard course, and we're looking at relative frequency and probability, which comes under MSS2. So in this video, we're going to have a look at what relative frequency is and a question on how to do it. So relatively frequency is trying to find the number of times a data value occurs compared to the rest of the data values within the data set. So say we have a total number of values to be 100, and we want to figure out the frequency or the relative frequency of the number 7, and we know that the number 7 occurs 30 times, so we know that that will leave 30%, or a relative frequency of 30%. So it's trying to figure out how many times this data point, so the data point of 7, how many times it occurs, or the frequency of it. So it occurred 30 times, and you divide the frequency of that data value by the total number of data values in the entire set. So there was 100 data values in that entire set, so we get a relative frequency of 30%. So if we have a look in this blue box here, it says that relative frequency is an estimate for the probability of an event. So how likelihood, or what's the likelihood that this event will occur in comparison to the rest of the data values. So to find relative frequency, we use this formula: frequency of the data value divided by the total number of data values. So it's the frequency of an event divided by the total number of data values. So let's have a go at doing an example using this equation here for relative frequency. So here we have an experiment of tossing 2 coins was conducted. The number of times tails occurred was recorded. Find the relative frequency. So here we have two coins being tossed, and the number of times that tails occurred when you toss those 2 coins was recorded. So here we have 3 options, and the option 0 means that when we toss the 2 coins, tails did not appear on either of them. So you got 2 heads for that one. Then the second option here is that when we toss the 2 coins, one coin had the face of heads and the other coin had the face of tails. So we got tails once. And lastly, when we flip the 2 coins, we got tails on both of the coins. So based off this information, we have to find the relative frequency for when there was no tails, when there was 1 tail, and when there was 2 tails appearing on the coins. So we need to fill in these 3 boxes here. So what we're going to do first is, if you remember, we have the frequency of an event divided by the total number of the frequencies, or all of the numbers. So what we have to do is, we've got the frequency here, we just don't have the total number. So we've got to figure out the total number of the frequencies. So to do that, we're going to add 100 plus 192 plus 108 to get the total number of the frequencies, or the total number of every data set that occurred, data point that occurred within a data set. So if we add them all together, we should get the total value of 400. So you can just put that in your calculator and you should get 400. So that means that our frequency is going to change depending on what one we do, what number of tails we do. But the total number of frequencies is going to be 400. So now we have all the information we need. So for the relatively frequency for 0 tails occurring, where both of them was heads, we can do 100 over 400, or 100 divided by 400, which goes to 1 on 4 when you simplify that into your calculator, and that just equals 25%. So the relative frequency of getting 0 tails when we flipped the coins 400 times was 25%. So compared to the rest of the data points within that data set, 0 tails occurred 25% of the time. So now let's do the same for when 1 tails occurred and 1 heads occurred. So we do 192, which is our frequency for this one, divided by the total number of frequencies. So that's 400. And we can simplify that down to 12 on 25 when you put it into your calculator. And if you press the little S to D button, I'll just show you what it looks like. It will transform your fraction into a percentage. So if we put 12 on 25 into your calculator, you get a fraction. And then if you press that button right there that says SD, it will change it to a percentage. So that's 0.48 or 48%. And lastly, we're going to use the frequency of 108 times for occurring 2 tails divided by 400, which is going to give us 27 on 400, which is then going to be 27%. So 27 on 100, sorry. 27 on 100, which is going to be 27%. So that is how you do the relative frequency to find the relative frequency. That's how you use the formula to find it. And all you have to do is put the frequency of the data point that you want to find over the total number of frequencies or the total number of data points within that data set, and put it into your calculator and find it in terms of a percentage.